Hello again, my DIY loving friends, and welcome to Medicated Housewife DIY, where crafting and mental health come together. Get ready to give those overlooked Dollar Tree wood trays a double take. In this fun DIY adventure, we're transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. With a splash of creativity and a pinch of humor, we'll upcycle these budget-friendly finds into chic decor pieces. I promise that after this video, you'll never look at Dollar Tree wood trays the same way again. Now, what are we waiting for? Let's go DIY together. For this DIY, we're using one of these large wood trays from Dollar Tree Plus, as well as a bunch of bamboo skewers, also from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be painting my tray using some folk art antique wax, which I will link for you in the description box below. I start by painting the inside bottom of the tray, followed by the inside walls of the tray, and all those little edges, including inside the handle cutouts. And lastly, I'm painting the outside walls of the tray, and I use a dry paper towel to rub off the excess wax both inside and outside of the tray. Next, I take a big bunch of the skewers that I have already trimmed to fit inside the tray using my handy dandy clippers that you guys know that I love because they cut everything, including these skewers, and I will link them for you below. I'm using some super glue, wood glue from Dollar Tree, and a foam paintbrush to paint the glue evenly onto the bottom of the tray so that I can then place my bamboo skewers across the tray. And I'm going to do this in sections so that my glue won't start drying while I'm working. All I do is place the skewers down onto that glue and press them down a little bit. I'm going to repeat this until the entire bottom of the tray is covered with the skewers. Once my skewers were down, I did not love the look at the edges, so I decided to frame them in using some wood dowels like the kind that you get at Dollar Tree, and I simply cut them to fit using my favorite clippers, you know, the ones from earlier. I used some hot glue to attach the dowels like a frame right on top of the skewers, as you can see me do right here. I'm going to paint the skewers using some antique wax that's been mixed with water to lighten that brown color and thin it out just a little bit. I paint over all of the skewers using this antique wax and water mixture until all of them are saturated with that lighter, warm brown tone. I decided to paint the wood dowels using some antique wax without any water so that they would be the same shade as the actual tray and blend in with that. And also they would contrast with the bamboo skewers. Off camera, I also used the antique wax to paint these 4 large wood cubes I got on Amazon. I'll link them for you below, and this is what they look like unpainted. We're going to use those as feet for our tray. I also painted 2 wood rings, like the same kind you can find at Dollar Tree. We'll use those on our tray handles. And you can see in the back there, I already did the first handle. I'm going to use some hot glue to attach the wood ring standing up on the top of the handle cut out on the tray, as you see me do right here. Then I take a piece of thick jute, or you can use the Dollar Tree Nautical rope for this as well, and I glue the end inside the handle cutout on my tray. And at that point, I'm going to begin wrapping the jute around both the wood ring and through the inside of the tray handle cutout together, as you can see me doing here. After I've wrapped it 3 times, I use a bit more hot glue to secure the end of the jute inside the tray handle cutout, and then trim off the excess jute. Lastly, I am using hot glue to attach my wood cube feet to the 4 bottom corners of my tray. And this is my bamboo skewer footed wood tray, and I think this tray is spectacular looking. It has an upscale feel, almost like an antique, just very rich looking and high end. I love everything about it, and I think those wood ring handles give it a real unique quality, something you don't see everywhere. Super easy, filled with style, everything you could possibly ask for in a Dollar Tree DIY. This next DIY begins with, you guessed it, a large Dollar Tree Plus wood tray, but just for fun, we're going to use it upside down. Yes, you heard correctly, upside down. I start by painting the inside edge of the tray bottom, which is actually going to be the tray top for us, using some folk art antique wax. Then I paint the outside tray walls also using the antique wax, and I am not at all concerned with painting inside the handle cutouts because we're not even going to be able to see them in the finished project, so don't even worry about them. Then I paint the tray bottom, which technically is now going to be the top of our project, with more of the antique wax, and I use a dry paper towel to rub away any of that excess wax and then set the tray aside to fully dry. While the tray dries, I take a total of 46 tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree with a couple of extra thrown in because that's how I roll. I like some extra just in case blocks. And I am going to paint the 46 blocks using some Faux antique wax. I paint both sides of all of the blocks, followed by both edges of all of the blocks, and lastly, the two ends on all of those 46 blocks. And then I'm going to use a dry paper towel to rub the excess wax off of all of the blocks. Switching gears here, I grab my iron and some of this freezer paper from the supermarket. I rip off a piece of the freezer paper, and if you're not familiar with freezer paper, there is a shiny side and a dull side. The shiny side has a plastic coating that's going to stick to whatever we put on it when heat is applied, like heat from an iron. I also have a piece of this thin craft paper. I got this on Amazon and I'll link it for you below, or you can just use the craft paper from Dollar Tree. I take a piece of craft paper and I crumble it up really good so it gets super wrinkled. Then I'm going to smooth it out a bit to place it on top of the shiny side of the freezer paper. And remember, it must be the shiny side facing up for it to stick. My iron is on the cotton setting with no steam. Very important, no steam, because steam would unwrinkle our paper and we want the wrinkles. My husband was happy when he saw the iron out because he thought it was for his shirts, but no such luck. It's only for you guys. I iron the craft paper until it sticks to the freezer paper, making sure to get the edges of the paper really well. Then I turn it over and I iron the dull side of the freezer paper to really get the heat all over. With the craft paper now thoroughly stuck to the freezer paper, I wanted to give it a little dimension, so I grabbed this foam pouncing brush and some antique wax, and I very lightly dab, or actually it's more like a rub. I rub small amounts of antique wax across the wrinkled paper to help add a little bit of color and some depth, and I'm going for a leather or faux leather kind of a look with this wrinkled up craft paper. This is my first attempt doing this, so we are on this journey together, but I'm liking what I see so far. After the antique wax, I grabbed some of this matte Mod Podge from Dollar Tree. I mixed it in a little water to thin it out and make it a less sticky. I'm using a large foam brush and I'm going to paint the Mod Podge onto the craft paper lightly and all over, getting an even coat, but definitely not too thick. Then we're going to put that aside until it thoroughly dries. I waited about 1 to 2 hours for it to dry. While the paper dries, we are going to finish the sides of our tray, and again, my tray is upside down. I have 46 painted Jenga blocks, that's 23 for each short side of the tray, and I'm using super glue wood glue. I'm going in a pattern across the short side of the tray where the cutout handles are. The pattern is one narrow block standing up, followed by a wide block also standing up, and so on and so on, alternating between narrow and wide across the short side of the tray. See, that's why the inside edge of that little handle cutout doesn't matter, because at the end of adding the blocks, you won't be able to see it. We're putting the blocks right over it. Once I finish this side, I'm going to turn it around and do the exact same pattern of blocks on the opposite side and allow the tray to dry. Now my faux leather craft paper is dry and I've trimmed it to the same size as the bottom/top of my tray. I decided the easiest and cleanest way to apply the faux leather to the tray was using this Elmer's glue stick. I don't often use this, but it just seemed the most simple. So spreading the glue stick all around the top of the tray, then I place the faux leather sheet down and I do my best to smooth it out and really press it into the corners and edges. You can also use a sealer over this to give the whole top of that tray much more durability. And oh my goodness, this is my wood tray turned into a wood riser, and like, who would have thought that turning this wood tray upside down would lead to so many possibilities? Now, maybe you've seen this done before with these trays, but I have not, so it's new to me and I love it. Really, really love it. The faux leather and the Jenga blocks really up the texture on this project. I honestly can't think of anything that I don't love about this. This next DIY begins with, surprise, a Dollar Tree Plus wood tray. Who doesn't love a theme, right? So this time I'm whitewashing the inside of the tray with some Folk Art white chalk paint, which I will link for you below, mixed with water, and I just give a light coat so that the wood grain still comes through, and it's just on the inside bottom of the tray that I'm going to paint. I also had 4 of these little wooden people in my stash. I'll link them for you below, but you could use the Dollar Tree little wood angels for this if you really wanted to. I whitewashed 4 of those little wood people to use as feet for the tray. I'm using some thick jute I had on hand, and I'll link that for you below, but Dollar Tree Nautical rope or jute will work just as well. Starting at the outside corner, I am using hot glue to secure the jute as I wrap the outside of the tray walls. Keeping my rows as straight as I possibly can, I'm going to keep wrapping all the way around until I reach the cutout handle on the tray. Once I reach the cutout, I'm going to wrap the jute up to the opening of the handle and then cut the jute right there. I did cut a small piece of jute also to fit into that little center space on the handle bottom. Then I skip the opening of the handle and I start at the other side of the opening of the handle, continuing around to the opposite end of the tray. Basically, we are just covering all of the wood with wrapped jute and leaving the openings in the wood open with no jute. To really put it in the simplest terms, it's like painting, but instead of paint, we're using jute. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Once the rows of jute reach the outside top edge, I turn the tray around and I start wrapping the inside walls of the tray with the same jute. And we are doing this the same way we did the outside walls. We wrap all 4 corners and then keep wrapping until we reach the cutout handles. Then we do the same wrap and cut and wrap around the handles all the way around the inside of the tray until we get to the very top of those inside walls. Once both inside and outside walls are wrapped with jute up to the top, we are going to place another row of jute on the top edge around the entire tray, going around twice. So 2 rows on the top edge to complete the wrapping of the tray. I do place 2 small pieces of jute into the bottom of the inner handle cutouts to camouflage that little piece of wood that's peeking out in there and to make the jute coverage cohesive all the way around the tray. I have some of this brown suede cord, which I will link for you below. I'm not sure if they carry something like this at Dollar Tree, probably something similar. I cut 2 long pieces of the suede cord to use on my tray handles. I use a dab of hot glue to attach the end of the cord to the inside top of the handle cutout, and then I begin wrapping that suede cord around the handle from one side of the handle to the other, as you can see me doing right here. And then at the end, I use another dab of hot glue to secure the suede wrapped handle. I do the same on the other side of the tray for that handle. With both the handles finished, I really wasn't happy with the whitewashed wood, so I grabbed some antique wax and began roughly and heavily distress painting with the wax right over the whitewash. I kept going until I felt I had enough of the wax on there that it changed the feel of the tray a bit. At that point, I did the same heavy distress painting on the little whitewashed wood people so they would match my tray. Lastly, I used hot glue to attach the 4 wood people to the 4 bottom corners of my tray as feet. And this is my jute-covered suede handle tray, and it's not super unique, but I like the effect that the jute has with the heavy antique waxed wood distressing, and those little wooden people feet are just so darn cute. All in all, I don't hate it, I'm not mad at it, and everyone could use some jute-wrapped decor in their home. Am I right? And you know the drill. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments which one of these Dollar Tree wood tray DIYs was your favorite and why. You know I love hearing from all of you. And if you've enjoyed this DIY video, there's another one waiting for you. Just click that link on your screen for more Medicated Housewife DIYs. Also, I'd love for you to join our little crafting family and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and until next time, my name is Sarah. I'm the Medicated Housewife, and crafting is my medication.